Why doesn't Amazon have a show about Amazons?
That is a really good question.
Shouldn't they have a Wonder Woman show or a show about the Amazon River, a nature show?
Sure.
Or something.
Or an Egyptian show about the Amazon River.
Egyptian show?
No, wait, what am I talking about? I'm thinking about the Nile, not the Amazon.
River, yeah.
Never mind.
Amazons.
Yeah, so like actual real life Amazons that like have one breast. Because they have the other one cut off so they can shoot their weapons.
Right.
Yeah.
Which would be where?
In the Amazon forest, of course.
No, it wouldn't.
You don't think so?
You were close with the Amazon River. Aren't the Amazons from like Eastern, not Eastern Europe. Well, I guess now it's Eastern Europe, but from like the Bosphorus area, the sort of Black Sea area.
I guess so.
I thought that was like historically, in so much as there is like historical Amazons, it was sort of from that area.
Okay.
Because a lot of these, hey, what show is this? A lot of these like myths are just, I can't remember the term, but they're just like interpolations of like actual historical events to, things that had become legend because they didn't have Snapchat to like, I guess Snapchat's temporary. Pick the wrong one. It's got a K in it though, or a CH.
Right.
To record this stuff. So it's just like, like the Minoan civilization collapsed for some reason, and we don't really know why, although it's theorized that it could be some kind of ecological disaster or tidal waves or something like that. And so you've got this island nation that's like really advanced, and suddenly they basically, over the course of a couple decades, disappear from the Mediterranean, and you go, oh, it's Atlantis.
Right. Yeah.
Things like that.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know why Amazon doesn't have a show about Amazons. It seems kind of like a no-brainer. Like that why doesn't an Amazon exec, like, why didn't he come up with that or she come up with that?
Who?
I'm just picturing an Amazon executive. That's all.
Amazon Andy?
Sure. Amazon Andy or Annie,
Andy could be a girl.
Oh, there you go.
If it's Star Wars, Andy could be a guy.
That is true.
Ookie ookie, Amazon Annie. Well, they don't have an Amazon show. They also don't have a Maya Rudolph and Fred Armisen show anymore. Forever has been canceled.
Oh, I didn't even know
the
that was a show.
The axe is coming down insofar as, let's see, we need one boob to shoot a bow, but maybe one boob helps you shoot an axe too, or throw an axe. Oh my
goodness.
And so, Forever, their show's gone. Nicholas Winding Refn's Too Old to Die Young show's gone. Good! Too crappy to be a show. The Romanoffs is canceled, which was a huge investment by Amazon. That's gone too. Let's show. Sometimes a podcast doesn't make a good show. I'm Aaron Mankey, and Lore is canceled. Lore's gone, and that show that we didn't like, Patriot, is gone too.
Oh, okay. They're cutting the fat.
Yep, they're clearing the table out.
Yeah.
So they can put these Lord of the Rings books on it.
Yes,
they'll look real good in the middle of this table.
And the Expanse.
Spread out this cloth map.
Right.
That came with the book.
Right. Well, and the Expanse, like, didn't they just get renewed for season 5?
Yes.
So they're making room for that too.
Season 4 has not debuted yet.
No. So I'm excited about that. I guess it's too bad about these other shows.
Yes to space.
Yeah.
No to whatever the Romanoffs was. And Aaron Mankey.
To be fair, like, I mean, I never saw the Romanoffs, but it just sounded too
insufferable.
It sounded insufferable and unwieldy.
Yes.
Like, these are all people who were descendants of the Romanoffs.
Yeah. Well,
Boop-a-doop-a-doo.
Yeah. It's weird because Amazon has a lot of money.
Yep.
They can do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. And what do? Well, you take, there's 3 things you can do. You take a sure bet, like the Lord of the Rings. I mean, I don't know if it'll be any good, but people will watch it.
Built-in fan base.
Yeah. People will get primed to watch Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
Or you take something that was underappreciated but could thrive with the right push, like The Expanse.
Right.
Or you let a famous creator just shoot his shot and just go, wow, I got this weird idea.
Right.
And then you sink a lot of money and time and like guest stars into it.
Right.
And that's Matthew Weiner's The
Romanoffs. Yeah.
So far,
yeah.
record on shows whose titles are a family name. 1 and 1, up 1, down 1.
Oh, what's the up one?
Sopranos.
Oh, The Sopranos. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Stick to the Italian names. The Russian names, not so much.
Right. You know what would have been better?
Maybe Amazon thought they were getting a Natasha Romanoff show.
Maybe, or maybe they thought it was like an actual historical dramatization of the Romanovs.
He's like, wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah.
First of all, let me sexually harass this woman over here who's taking notes, and then also, no, that's not what it is.
Right.
Imagine. Just pick a half a dozen John Slattery characters and just smear them into like one insufferable like rich white guy.
Yeah.
And then times that by 20 and the Romanovs.
Yeah, we don't need that.
We're going sicko mode on the Romanovs.
We are. We haven't even seen it, and we're just beating it to shreds.
That's the advantage of having a podcast. It is the longest distance shot that you can take.
It's my opinion, and I'm going to spew it now.
And I want it now.
Yeah.
It's my garbage, and I want it now. Give me those Romanovs. Give me that Just Enough Trope. We're the Just Enough Trope podcast. I'm your host, Caliban, joined as always by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mikan Hana.
And we had to start with something fun, or at least something that we could make fun of.
Absolutely.
Aaron Mankey, because unfortunately we have sad news to report, which is the death of Rutger Hauer at 75, the Dutch actor. I was going to say Dutch American. I know he spent a lot of time in the U.S. I don't know if he ever got a citizenship.
That's a good question. I don't know if he did
but he
or not.
Has passed away of an unspecified illness. And it's really like one of those things where it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about some of his films today.
Yes.
But I was going back through my Facebook feed. I don't want to be treated any differently.
Noted.
But I wanted to support myself and just really appreciate, just laugh. We laughed at my own jokes. And I was just noticing how many RIP posts I've done this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just a couple years ago, we were like, how do we get out of this year? Like a year in which Prince and Bowie
died. Yeah.
and George Michael all died in the same time or whatever.
Right.
And we had no idea what was in store. Celebrity deaths come in the 3,000s.
Right? It's way more than threes. And I think it continues to get worse because like the more like that we're connected to other people, like the more you just find out about stuff.
Yeah. Like when, you might be, don't know, but like when Larry Storch dies, like we're all going to hear about it. But a bad pick because he was a star to the boomers and until they go. How will we know? It's like the last person to fight in the Civil War. Like, how will we know when the last boomer goes?
I don't know.
Is
That's a
CNN
really good question.
Zillennial edition even going to know about that? Are they going
to
send us a cyber blast?
Right.
We'll know that's it. They're gone.
They're gone now.
The last person who was at Woodstock
is
now gone.
Right. The last person who was alive and
Aaron
saw the
Mankey,
moon landing.
Aaron Mankey, the Amazons, the Romanovs, and boomers. We're going hard on three things today. Three things. These celebrity deaths, these celebrity killings are going to be in threes.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm doing. Anyway, we're getting off topic. We're talking about Rutger Hauer and some of his films today. And as sort of a continuation of a show that we did previously about a talented director, filmmaker, Paul Verhoeven, a countryman of Rutger Hauer, we're going to do a continuation of that and talk about three films that were collaborations between Paul Verhoeven and Rutger Hauer.
Exactly.
The guy who, Verhoeven, kind of gave Hauer his start.
Yeah.
On Dutch TV, and then was in the first couple movies of his until they did a movie that made them decide that they'll never work together ever again.
Yeah.
Sadly.
It's unfortunate.
But that's what happened. So we'll be talking about three films. Turkish Delight, the film SPETTERS, I wish. Not SPETTERS.
He's got a small part.
Soldier of Orange.
Yeah.
And, of course, Flesh and Blood.
Yes.
So
Flesh plus blood, like Romeo plus Juliet.
Yeah, right. Good one. Never heard that.
All right, you said that before.
Other than
I stole it from you.
Stealing my bits. How you been?
I've been good.
Larcenous?
Larcenous? What do you mean?
Stealing.
Oh,
thanks.
Well, I guess I'm just stealing things that you're saying. So, I apologize about that. But other than that, I've been good. How about you, Cal?
Wow. Fine, except for what we just brought up.
Well, I know.
What if we just put a freeze on it? We're like, we're good. Everybody lives.
Until
even
the end of
people
the year.
who are in crippling pain and are begging for death. Like, sorry, we'll pencil you in for the beginning of 2020. What if we just put a pause on it right here and nobody else went?
Yeah, that'd be something.
Here's a morbid game. Who's
boy.
going?
You know, I hear
We
people.
got 5 months left.
People will say they'll have a pool, like a dead pool. Isn't that where like
I wish
Deadpool
would
gets his
die.
name?
I wish he would die.
Wow.
I don't know where he gets his name from. I think Rob Liefeld is just like a Dirty Harry
A
fan.
weirdo? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I have no idea. It just sounds good.
But that
Death
there's
blood.
right. But there's like you come up with a list of
Yeah, I know what a Deadpool
celebrities.
is. I know what a Deadpool is.
Yeah. But it's so morbid. You know, and like to actually put money on it.
Started this segment by
Okay,
saying
I
it was
know.
morbid. So who's on your death pool?
Jeez, I don't know. I don't know who I want to put in there.
You're not wishing for the death of
No.
anybody. You're just saying seems likely. Brett Ratner's at the top of mine.
Well, that's your wishing.
Okay. I guess I said we're not going to wish.
Right. You totally said that, and that was the first thing on your
My
mouth.
pool is at the bottom of a well, and I'm throwing a coin in there.
Yeah.
Valor Morghulis. Let's get this Brett Ratner thing going.
Oh my goodness. Who haven't we seen in a while? Who's just kind of
Okay, you're not.
I don't know.
You're not ready for this.
No, I'm not.
That's okay. You're too good of a person. I am not.
Oh boy.
Brett Ratner?
Who do you okay,
Sorry.
besides Brett Ratner, who is on your
Eat
list?
that shrimp now. No, that's probably it. This is probably not the right way to start this. Because Rutger wouldn't have wanted this.
That's true. He was such a nice guy.
He was an amazing person, and we're not being overly effusive because of the circumstances that we find ourselves in. By all accounts, I looked too. Like I was reading about his life after he passed, and I looked for like any time that he kicked a dog or anything, and I couldn't find anything. Like he was
right.
he was an actor, he was an artist, and a nice guy. Whoopi Goldberg was a friend of his,
Which is crazy to me.
which is
like how did they meet?
He knew Whoopi Goldberg.
I know.
Yeah, I don't think he was in Eddie or something like that.
No. Or Sister Act. I don't think so.
Yeah. Sister Act. Did they ever make a 3? They must have.
I don't know if
Anyway,
they did. I know there's a 2.
There's like a Sister Act, where now we're at Sister Act like 7, where it's gotten weird, and she's stopping terrorists, and he's playing like a terrorist or something like that.
Yeah, I could see that.
He was a philanthropist. Try to get this word right. Philanthropist.
Yes.
As well, and started charities and was an environmentalist, and so maybe he was. Maybe if you came in with leather shoes on, he'd be like, "Really? This is what we're gonna do?" So he was a little like sanctimonious. Maybe that's the worst thing we could say.
Oh, sure.
But
yeah,
we'll say
a
a
little
lot
holier than thou.
if we ever get to it. So a death, but also a birth to be announced. We are welcoming a new show to the network.
Oh, yes.
To the Just Enough Trope podcast network. The show is called BackTrekking, and its hosts are myself and a man named Gooey Fame.
Yes.
And I know people don't like it when we talk about Star Trek on this show, which is why we have other shows where there is Star Trek.
Yes.
And this is a Star Trek / pop culture podcast is how I describe it. It is nominally about Star Trek, but every Star Trek episode, like any work of art, is inspired by something else, something in the world. And so whenever you're watching an episode of Star Trek, there are many original ideas and concepts, but there's also things that you go, well, that kind of seems like something else that I saw.
Right.
There's what Captain Picard is caught alone in his ship, and a group of terrorists want to steal some bearer bonds from the safe on the Enterprise D.
Right.
And you go, that sounds like Die Hard.
Yeah.
Well, how do you say yippee-ki-yay in Vulcan?
That's a good question.
And there's an episode like that. It's called Starship Mine from Next Generation. So there's a lot of examples like that, examples of Star Trek sort of riffing on other TV shows and movies, even historical events or historical personages, sometimes borrowing from itself. So anyway, we have this show called BackTrekking, and on that show we talk about the links between the inspirations behind classic Star Trek episodes. And we've been going for a little while now. We've just released our 9th episode this week. And so we've been doing it on the side, but we're bringing it into the fold now and making it part of the Just Enough Trope network. So you can find that at BackTrekking. It's all one word, and there's 2 Ks, TREKKING. BackTrekking on Twitter. We'll have a website pretty soon. Otherwise, it's on iTunes and Stitcher and all the good places you can find stuff.
Right.
And yeah, I think it's pretty entertaining. Even if you're not like a hardcore Star Trek fan, I'd encourage you to go check it out. Like, for instance, you like Die Hard?
Right.
Listen to the Die Hard episode.
Right. You can pick and choose.
Yeah.
Like your latest episode that just came out is about a movie that is a submarine movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm really great.
My hype woman, everybody.
I was just gonna say it's a really fun show, and I think that non-Trek fans would enjoy it as well. So
yes, so we've got so many shows right now. They are all trying to get through the door at once, like the Three Stooges. So we need a new platform, and we've been looking for one. And one thing that we are looking at is internet radio, which would be a internet radio station accessible, online or on your device, where our podcasts play in perpetuity. Different times, different hours. We also have music and all this sort of thing. It's something that we're kind of working on and developing, and you should keep an eye out in the future. No formal announcement right now, but if that's something that you think would be cool and something you'd want to listen to, and even if you have suggestions of what you'd like to hear on that station, because we have a lot of latitude, then let us know on social media, Facebook and Twitter at justenoughtrope.com.
It's really exciting.
Check out BackTrekking.
Yeah.
Let's check out the news. So I mentioned Amazon's Lord of the Rings show before.
Yes.
We've got an announcement of the first cast member to be involved in this Lord of the Rings show.
Okay, who is that?
It is a person that you have never heard of, but somebody else may have. It's a woman named Markella Kavanaugh. She has been in Amazon's Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Okay.
The Australian TV version of Romper Stomper.
I have no idea what that is. Yeah, that sounds intriguing.
It was an Australian movie that got turned into a TV show.
Okay.
And so, she'll be in it. We don't know what she's playing. Her character's name is Tyra, which doesn't sound very Tolkien-esque to me.
No.
Tyra Tolkien.
Right.
So I'm thinking maybe that's like, what if that's just from the casting notice? You know, like Ted the Andorian.
That would make more sense. Yes. Yeah. Right.
So, So I don't really know, but they cast a nobody in a part that nobody knows.
Okay. So. It sounds like Tigra to me or something.
Wow. You go to Tigra before Tyra Banks.
Yeah, I guess I do. I don't know why. But
Well, I'm a little worried about this show. I mean, first of all, it's a sacred property.
This is true.
Clearly. And then it's also a situation where you've got so J.A. Bayona, the director of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, is going to direct the pilot.
Right.
And then the chief writers, showrunners are J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, who have done some stuff.
I've never heard of them before.
Probably their most recent work you haven't seen because they wrote the script for the third Star Trek movie, Star Trek Beyond, that was rejected for Simon Pegg's script.
Okay. Right. Not too exciting then. Maybe it'll be good, but we don't really have any very concrete example of their work.
Well, I mean, who do you want? You want Peter Jackson to, at least sign on as like supervising producer.
That would be like a good sign. Yeah.
But instead they're just going to go at it, and it's going to be the Aragorns.
Oh boy.
It's going to be 8 generations of Aragorn's family.
Right.
John Slattery plays
Elrond. Come on.
And he's like, I don't know what's going on in this Rivendell today.
He's looking at the Rivendell newspaper.
Yeah, exactly. Why does he have white hair?
Right.
Aren't the elves always young?
Right.
Elves can go prematurely gray, right?
Sure. And what would prematurely gray look like for the elves? Would it just be like this beautiful silver and like...
I feel like silver's already like a hair choice.
Yeah.
On Lord of the Rings Online.
Yeah.
You're making a character.
Yeah, I know.
I think you can already get silver, so maybe that's not so weird.
Yeah.
Hulu is not to be denied, and they are going to create a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy TV show.
Yeah. How do you feel about this, Cal?
Here's how I feel about it. I'm disappointed at the coverage that I've seen on the internet. I mean, there isn't a lot of information. We know that Carlton Cuse, one half of the producing team behind Lost, the quote-unquote good half, because the other half is Damon Lindelof, who we'll talk about in a second, is the main guy behind it. He also, I don't know, I feel like he's a real, like, ham and egger. Like, I don't feel like...
What do you mean by that?
I mean that he's, like, not your he's not your Vince Gilligan. He's not your Matthew Weiner. He's not your guy that's going to bring something that's like, whoa, this is revolutionary.
Okay.
He's just like a guy who's like, that's a solid show. Like, you're going to make Quantico or some procedural or something. I feel like that's his thing. Like, as far as Lost goes, the ups, the downs, or whatever, I think all the crazy stuff was Damon Lindelof, and it just... we coming back week after week for 6 or 7 seasons, keeping the story structures because everything is like a flashback, and so that sort of complicated thing. I think that was all sort of his hand.
Okay.
And recently, I think it's Netflix, right? Recently, he's signed on to do the Lock and Key show.
Oh, okay.
Which has been circling the drain for 15 years trying to get this thing made.
At least, yeah.
And he was the guy to do it. So, like, I think he's solid. Insofar, like, you know, as like my old editor described all my pieces, solid, which was not a compliment.
Right.
Yeah. So, but anyway, back to the answer to your question. I hate the fact that all the articles for this have a picture from the 2004 movie starring Martin, the Hobbit guy, man. Office guy.
Right.
There's literally a Hitchhiker's Guide TV show that they could use stills from.
Yeah.
We're literally talking about a TV show.
Right. And it's going to be a remake.
Why am I looking
TV
at Mos
show.
Def?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a little disconcerting because it seems like
disconcerting as well.
Did I say it wrong?
If you disconcern, it's not really a word, but I suppose it says that you are reducing or affecting someone's ability to feel concern. But you are taking concert, which is, you know, in this case, equity flow, something going well, and you are disconcerting something.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I just
you need like a fun catchphrase when I correct your orthography.
Yeah, I guess I do.
You're like, you don't know me.
All right.
Kiss my grits.
Okay, calm down.
Okay, calm down. I think we got it.
Oh, okay. I just I don't know what to say about this. I did not see the film. It did not look very good, so I just didn't see it. I really enjoy the books. I think the books are really entertaining.
And they're really slapstick, which is why the movie was so good.
Well, yeah,
Nobody
know.
Gets
the
Douglas
humor.
Adams. One person understood Douglas Adams, and he died almost 20 years ago.
It was
so
Douglas Adams.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I recommend reading the books. Yeah. I guess I'll check out the TV show, but I'm going to check it out, and if I don't like it, I'm just going to stop.
And if I don't like it, I'm going to edit it out.
That's right.
Oh, my brain. Let's talk about another TV situation. It looks like Expanse is being renewed for season 5 on Amazon. You had said that before.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't news so much as we need to talk about Holden.
Why do we need to talk about Holden?
I'm doing a play on we need to talk about Kevin.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
We're going to talk about Holden instead. He's got a beard.
Yep.
And from what I understand, everybody's excited the Expanse is going to come back. But everything that you like, zero-G, gunfights, Mars, just in general,
right?
All that stuff. This is not what you're going to get.
You don't think so?
No. This is, remember, like Battlestar Galactica, everyone is shitting their pants. It's the best show ever. And then they're all wearing stocking caps and they're living in tents? What?
Right.
I thought this was a space show.
Yeah.
Okay. Or like the Lost, the Hatch season.
I liked the Hatch season.
I did too, but yeah, this is going to be Amazon or the Expanse's Hatch season, I think.
Oh. Okay.
I'm seeing a lot of, they're on dune buggies, on like blasted, like Icelandic terrain. It's going to turn into like a settlement frontier show.
I don't know how I feel about that.
They're not going to be chasing down glowing skeleton creatures.
I mean, it's just like, it's so cool. It was like, you know, like nothing, it's a space sci-fi show, but like it's very explorative. I don't know if that's a word.
It is not.
Explorative. Nope. Gonna keep going. You know, there was like this weird thing and we were following it, and now we're not really worried about that anymore. So
no, I guess we're not.
And then it's like politics, but I feel like, you know, we didn't see as much of that. I mean, maybe we did, but
I think that the storyline of a government, in this case, an Earth united government, a world government, in 250 years in the future, still having to deal with corporate interests, and basically like a business plot, of corporations trying to wrest control from the government and like start a war because it's good for business. It's pretty relevant
that's
to
true.
our today's politics.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead, it's this planet. Or we found aliens or something.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, that's a totally different show.
Right. I just kind of felt like
We're spoiled for choice. I mean, we're whining about the creme brulee isn't crispy enough on top.
I know. I mean, I think it's a show that kind of tries to push the envelope of what is a sci-fi show, and what can we continue to explore. I haven't read the books, but I feel like I should check them out.
Great.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yes.
We're going to try to get some more juice out of this next one.
Okay.
We got some more details about the Hawkeye series.
All right.
I think I'd seen a interview with Scarlett Johansson before. Calm down. She didn't say the N-word or something dumb.
Oh, gosh.
But she was talking about how somebody asked her, like, oh, is Hawkeye going to be in your movie? Or, would you be on the Hawkeye show? And she's like, well, anything can happen. So not a story.
Okay. Well,
not really a story.
Maybe to both of those, I guess.
But we do know that Kate Bishop will be in the Hawkeye show.
Okay. We kind of figured as much. What else are you going to have a show about Hawkeye about? But,
Yeah. That's pretty much confirmed at this point.
Okay. Cool.
How do you think that will play out?
You mean, do you think she's going to like take over as Hawkeye, or is she going to just kind of be like a friend of Hawkeye? I think he could hand the reins over to her in that TV show. I think that could totally
because he's
happen.
a rock star now.
I know.
I mean, if these car ads are to be believed, this guy's a huge rock star.
I know.
So,
okay,
he's going to be busy.
Yeah.
Look, man.
Going on tour.
This part's supposed to be fun.
I know.
We're going to talk about a dead guy later.
I know.
Here's some good news. The Lost Boys TV show adaptation is moving forward on CW, although it has gone into a section of turnaround.
Okay.
Rob Thomas, he of Veronica Mars fame, has been working on this.
Yeah.
And they're going to shoot a pilot in the fall, but they are going to have to do a little retooling on the concept. And he says it's a 40% rewrite, not a total rewrite. And 40% seems like a very calculated choice of a number.
Yeah.
It's not 50%.
No.
And to me, 50% is basically 100%, right? If you're changing half the show, you're basically changing the whole show.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm doing 40%.
What does that mean?
It means that Sax Guy was not available, and so they had to totally revamp it, so to speak.
What do you mean Sax Guy?
Well, that's a different sax guy. But, the guy, like, he's got bulging veins, and he's just blowing that sax, and he's, like, wiggling his hips, He's, like, thrusting.
Yeah,
and he's all oiled down.
Oh, my goodness.
And he's got no shirt, but he's got, like, a bike chain or, like a boat chain wrapped both sides, like He-Man. He's just, like, mullet.
Sure.
Greasy mullet.
Of course. I never saw Lost Boys.
Wait, what? Little Caesura in the show here when we go watch Lost Boys. And we're back. Okay, so
I think I've seen the clip of the sax man, though.
Right. Jeez. Can't take you anywhere.
I know.
He's been working on this for a while. He wrote a script 2 years ago or so, and he really wants to get this off the ground. And my thing is, like, wasn't it just perfect?
The way it was?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like Teen Wolf.
Right.
Teen Wolf, okay, that's actually a great example, I think, of taking something that, and I have a...
Was beloved.
Well, okay, I'll do my own bit.
All right.
It wasn't very good. People like Teen Wolf. It's not very good.
Mm-hmm.
I have complicated feelings about it because it's sort of like the patron saint of my other podcast on this network, Craft Disservices. But I'll tell you right now, it's not a very good movie.
No.
But it is about, something. It's about a kid, and it's about puberty, and it's also kind of like they're Jews, right? Aren't they just Jews?
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, they're Jewish. I didn't mean to careful. We're going to talk about Soldier of Orange soon.
Right.
It's an ethnic thing, isn't it? It's about him not fighting against his familial identity and wanting to, but then sort of embracing it, but kind of going overboard with it.
I guess you could put it that way.
Because his dad's because it's not son, careful. Oh, I eviscerated the family dog. No, he's just yep. He's just full fur, face, glasses on still. Yep, we're werewolves. But son, you have to understand, this is part of your family. This is part of who you are.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
It's more about him, it's also about how werewolves are black people, I guess, because he's good at basketball. Look, that movie is a mess.
Oh my God.
It's a mess.
Oh my
But it's
goodness.
about high school. It's about changes, and it's about understanding and becoming who you are. And the one guy who's taking off his pants in the last celebration scene, YouTube it, clip it, YouTube it.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so it's a lot of those things, right?
Yeah.
Isn't Lost Boys is about being gay? It's about being gay. That's what it's about.
Okay.
Like all Joel Schumacher movies, that's what it's about. So how do you take that away? If you take all that Teen Wolf stuff and you make a CW show that's still going, I think, for some reason, and you add intrigue to it, and it's, Wichita or whatever,
right.
Okay, I can see that. But how do you take a thing that's about being gay and being Jason Patrick, and then it goes for 8 seasons on the CW because with sexy teens and there are no women and there's no girls in that movie except for Jamie Gertz or whatever. That's it.
Right. I don't know. And do you? When
it's just Corey Feldman going no way.
If you do the TV show, you got to have ladies in it, right?
Well, absolutely. You have to have romantic interest.
Yeah,
and not male romantic interest because we're not there. You're not going to have you know what I mean? Yeah. The CW thinks that they've cracked some kind of Da Vinci Code by taking all these beloved 80s cult movies and turning them into long running, boring, teen dramas.
Right.
Stop. Somebody's got to stop them.
Yeah. How do you stop them? How do you make them stop?
Bite their throats out. Didn't hear it from me. Let's talk about movies really fast.
Okay.
Did you hear that news about J.J. Abrams maybe doing Superman and Green Lantern?
I did hear that news.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that. Do you think it would be better or worse than the film's previous films?
It'd be hard to do worse.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Hashtag release a Snyder Cut, whatever.
Right.
It'd be hard to do worse than they've done. I don't want to see J.J. Abrams revive his flyby idea. Remember that in the late 90s, he was up along with Kevin Smith, with this sort of move to
do Superman,
to reinvigorate Superman before Singer got on there. And his idea was dumb.
What was his idea? Remind me.
It was
again.
that Superman was half human or something like that, or he was
Oh yeah, I think you told me that.
He just changed he changed everything about the character and the origin.
Right, that doesn't make any sense.
And it's just the guy. Look, I'm not going to go after the creator, the auteur behind Gone Fishing. The guy definitely has ideas for sure, but he is not. Yeah. He's not a guy. He took Mission Impossible and just kind of turned it into. It could have been anything blah blah action movie, but it was just Ethan Hunt or Mission Impossible.
Right.
It had nothing to do with Mission Impossible. He's got a wife, and I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you and your whole family. And it's Seymour Hoffman's the bad guy or something like that.
Right.
It had nothing to do with, and then he rips his face off, and I guess it's a Mission Impossible movie. Now, you could argue that that's what the Mission Impossible series was until it became successful. It was Brian De Palma making a Brian De Palma movie that happened to have a train and a helicopter crashing into each other.
Right.
And then there was the Dove-pocalypse that was the second one.
Oh my goodness.
So
With the
J.J.
bikes.
Abrams just happened, like, he did his boring J.J. Abrams Spielberg light take on it, and that happened to resonate the most, which I think opened the door to let people like Brad Bird and Chris McQuarrie make it into something that was really unique and Mission Impossible-y.
Yes.
That is a word. But everything that he does is just so... Do you like J.J. Abrams? Before I take a huge steaming shit on him?
Not really. I mean,
I feel like you're just trying to get ahead of me taking a shit on him.
No, I mean, there's
That's why you're holding
there's
that
so
roll of
much
toilet paper?
there's so much lens flares, you know, like
That is not a nuanced take on
okay.
J.J. Abrams.
You know what I did like? I liked The Force Awakens. And yeah, it was pretty much like, let's do New Hope over again. Let's do Star Wars
because he didn't
over
have
again.
he loves Star Wars. He has no ideas for Star Wars.
But I did really enjoy that film, even though it was basically a retelling of the original.
All right. Well, then you've got it. You've got the virus then too. So here come the men in the big hats and the face masks, and they're going to take a blood sample.
Oh no.
He just does. He makes something that for some reason you like, but I bet if you took 2 seconds, you went, actually, it wasn't really. Rutger Hauer's been in a lot more imaginative films than that. Paul Verhoeven's made some pretty imaginative films.
Yeah.
But J.J. Abrams is just so... It's the thing that we all used to complain about. We used to complain about prepackaged, shiny, video game-like Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
That was like the bane of everybody's existence. We wanted something real.
Right.
And now he just rules the box office and can write his own ticket. And that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
Cloverfield. It's empty.
Yeah.
Totally worthless.
Right.
What else? Help me complain. Hold my hair back.
Oh my gosh. Well, all the Trek films.
Yeah, don't get me started. Anyway, no, I'm not excited for his Superman. I actually think he could do a good Green Lantern, though.
Okay.
After all that railing.
All right.
Because I think Green Lantern, and I like the character. I'm not complaining about the character, but I think it's like the easiest thing to figure out. He's an alien cop.
Yes.
What's the problem today?
Right.
It's this. We've got that one.
Right.
Let's go to this planet. Let's go to this planet.
Right.
It's procedural. It's baked in. It's Mission Impossible.
Right.
With aliens and rings.
We got this code of conduct
Done.
that us as Green Lanterns
It's
we
already
follow.
done.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but yeah. Last item, some movie news. The Zombieland Double Tap trailer is out, moving the action of the film to Washington, D.C.
Is that exciting?
If you want to see them run wild over the White House and okay. Did you like the original Zombieland?
Yes, I did.
Whoa,
I really enjoyed it.
She liked it, everybody. She liked it.
Okay.
Do you think there's any juice or clotted blood? Perhaps some suppurating fluids.
Gross.
What's the what's in the tank, in a zombie tank, for a sequel? Sometimes you really like something,
Yeah.
and then you leave it right there.
And you leave it where it is.
I like The Sacrifice by Tarkovsky. The Sacrifice 2?
Right.
Is that what we need?
Yeah, I don't know if
This time there's more sacrifice.
I don't know if we need it. I mean, I guess I've always kind of wondered, like Shaun of the Walking Dead, like that.
Shaun of the Walking Dead.
No.
There's a bunch of people
No.
in an RV.
No, I was wrong.
One of them is named Shaun.
I was wrong. Shaun of the Dead.
You won't take that tie off.
All right. Shaun of the Dead is really good movie, and it ends in kind of a funny place. I mean, it's a funny, scary movie anyways, but where you feel like maybe there's more they could mine there. Maybe, but I don't know if it's enough for another film.
No.
So I don't know if
No Edgar Wright movie should have a sequel.
Okay.
They're all too well made. They're just perfect in and of themselves.
Okay.
Hot Fuzz, top 5 favorite movies.
It's a great film.
I would kill myself before I watched a Hot Fuzz 2.
Well, I guess what I was
Fuzz.
trying to get at is, for zombie films, do you really make a sequel? Is there?
Yes, there are 9 seasons of The Walking Dead.
Well, I guess.
Or whatever.
Okay, you're right. All right. I haven't seen the trailer for this yet, so I don't know.
Well, you're missing out on
I guess I would check it out.
weed jokes.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And to me, it just seems like, you had a weird kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
And, what if we didn't take zombies seriously? I
Right.
mean, as you have pointed out, it has been done.
Yes.
But it was their own sort of twist on it. Wernick and Reese have gone on to write other funny things, and so they're clearly like a talent. But this just seems like more of the same. How do we get back into this? How do we get the magic back? Insofar there was really magic,
right?
To begin with,
get the team back together,
and
or
cardio,
have they been together this entire time?
Yeah, they've probably been together.
Okay,
but has it been 10 years?
Yeah, that's a good
because it's been 10 years.
Oh, okay,
like,
right.
When I saw Zombieland in 2009,
right.
I wasn't like, I can't believe I have to wait 10 years for a sequel to this.
Yeah, I feel like that's not necessarily like a good sign, when you get your sequel 10 years later. Like, what was the holdup there?
Is there going to be more? Well, they all went off and did different things.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Jesse Eisenberg became, for a bright, shining moment, a star, like an A-lister, for about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Emma Stone is still kind of on her climb, although she hit the peak, right? Is she on the way down now?
I kind of feel like she hit the peak.
She won that Oscar.
And she was in a Yorgos Lanthimos film.
So Rutger Hauer has passed away at the age of 75.
Yes.
Sad.
Really sad.
And too soon. I think that you had said the other day, and I agree with you, too young.
He's way too
We've
young.
We've got all kinds of ways to make things go and stick around. We got Ziploc bags that keep things very fresh.
Oh my goodness.
So how come a guy's dying at 75? We don't know exactly. It's just an unspecified illness.
Yeah,
is
it's a
the
short
cause of
illness.
death. So it's too bad. And like I said before, we looked and I couldn't find any reason to hate this guy. He seemed like a really great guy.
Real stand-up guy.
Yeah. Rutger Hauer, born in 1944 in the Netherlands, really at the height of the fighting, I think, there. Which, of course, is in some of Verhoeven's films.
Yes.
Because that affected him as well. He's a little older than Rutger Hauer. But, yeah, I think that he had said at some point that was a influence on him to be a pacifist.
Oh, the being born during the war?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's kind of poetic, I suppose. I don't know if he really remembers like bad going down at The Hague.
Right.
But just seeing, of course, the after effects, because it affected and shattered Europe for a long time.
Yeah.
But definitely affected his outlook on that sort of thing. To the point where he had such an interesting life. Like, he did so many things in just the few, 20 short years before he got into theater and acting. Like, he came from a family who, at least his mother, I think he didn't really know his father very well.
Oh, okay.
And then he reconnected with him, I think during the filming of Soldier of Orange.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he was encouraged to be creative in school, and he went to an art school. But then he kind of was like, no, I'm going to do something else. And so he became a merchant marine or a soldier.
Okay.
No, not a soldier, a sailor. And he worked on a ship.
Uh-huh.
But he quit after a year or so because he was colorblind. And so there was no advancement for him. As a ship captain, you need to I guess know the colors of signal flags and stuff like that.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
So he wasn't. Yeah. So he left that, and then I think I don't know. After that, he joined the army in the mid '60s.
Okay.
As a medic. So he was trained as a combat medic, but then he left pretty soon into that because he was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna kill people," because he was a pacifist. And
right.
I'm like, weird choice.
Right.
To even join the army in the first place, but he was really opposed to that, and it also tells you something about the chillax and mindset of the Netherlands people, of the Dutch.
Yeah.
Can you just quit the army?
Apparently you can.
You're just out there, you're doing PT, you're running with a rifle, and you're like, yeah, it's not for me.
Apparently you can.
Sarge, I don't want to do this. Oh, well, that's fine. Just give me your rifle. Okay.
Well, it kind of reminds...
Careful of the tulips on the way out.
It kind of reminds me of a scene in Soldier of Orange.
Yeah.
When Goose is doing training.
Juice.
Why do I always say
it's a J sound,
say
isn't
it wrong?
It?
I think you're
That's
right.
That's how they say it, yeah.
Juice. And they basically get him out of it somehow.
Yeah.
So
they get him out of it.
I don't know if it's a doctor's note. I don't know what it is. That they're like, okay, you can go.
Yeah.
But
He's got a mission.
oh, okay.
A special
what it is.
mission.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's going to become a soldier
Right.
of orange. And he was married very early on in his life to a woman that he actually got divorced from, actually around that time as well.
Okay.
So they had a daughter. And then so this is part of my, like, I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to find something about this guy.
Uh-huh.
Because he's got to be, everybody's bad. I'm a cynic. And he had met somebody around the same time who became his wife. They dated for about 20 years and they got married.
That's crazy.
And that was his wife until he passed. So
a long time.
Nope.
Yeah.
Faithful.
Yeah.
Although, Europeans do things a little differently.
This is true.
Where's this going?
I don't know.
Why are we talking about these movies? I'm all alone. I'm drowning here. So to celebrate him, we wanted to talk about some of his films, and I thought it was a good idea to start with his first film, Turkish Delight, or Turks Fruit, in the original Dutch, apparently.
It's just so strange.
Would you like Turkish Delight more if it was called Turks Fruit?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Although I feel like Turkish Delight as a name itself is deceptive because it's gross.
Is it gross? I don't think I've ever
gross.
actually had it
It's not
before.
good.
Like, what is it like?
It's like gelatinous.
Okay.
And it's like rose. I think it's rose flavored or something like that. It tastes like perfume, basically. And then it's got that like flour, that powder on it.
Oh, sure.
No good.
Like some mochi has like that on it.
Yeah.
I like rose flavored tea.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe.
So I don't know.
Give
But
it a
if
shot.
it really tastes like soap, I
Eat 7
probably
or 8 of
wouldn't
them
like it.
and see what happens.
I know, right?
What did you have any expectations for this film? What you think was going to happen here?
I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations. And when I read about, I read a couple articles about Rutger Hauer, as talking about his passing and his work that he's done, and so I heard that he was naked for about half of this film.
And you're like, let's do Turks Fruit.
Yeah.
So emphasis on the fruit.
Right. And then I also heard he was a sculptor. So those things are both correct. But
that article did not lie.
No, that article
Fact check,
did not lie.
check.
Yeah. But
well,
he was naked with the actress who played Olga.
I just think that is it Paul Verhoeven, or I guess how many Dutch movies have I seen? I don't know. Is it a Dutch?
I don't know.
Is it a European thing, or is it a Verhoeven thing? Because we've got one part of this Venn diagram.
Yeah.
Is a boob. They're actually both boobs.
Right.
But instead of like crossing over, they just smash into each other.
Right.
That's the Venn diagram we're describing here. It's probably a little of column A and a lot of column B.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of Paul Verhoeven's Over, and I think just about Over.
It's over, underdone.
Over. Oh. Okay. I think just about every film he has boobs in it.
Yeah, that's the column B.
Okay.
Here's what happens in the movie. He's a sculptor. He's a real gigolo man. We are introduced to him and his O-face as he's jerking off over a picture. And he's boning every lady in town. We rewind 2 years, and it's kind of like love story, sort of, crossed with, I don't know. It's a love story-esque kind of thing. A love story actually came out, I think maybe 2 years before.
Okay.
So it's it's a story of how he meets this woman. They fall in love, get married. Their relationship, she tames him, but not really. But he sort of settles down. They have a falling out. Their relationship falls apart. They get back together again. And then, oops, brain cancer, and she's dead. Spoilers for Turkish Delight. Guy. Yeah, it's like Love Story meets Sid and Nancy divided by Annie Hall a little bit.
Yeah.
She goes to Hollywood in the third reel. But
right.
Yeah, and that's not, I guess I didn't know what to expect at all, and I was not disappointed because this movie delivered something that I could not have expected. It's based on a book. As a lot of, I think we're discovering, a lot of Verhoeven's work, at least in his native land, is based on books adapted from other stuff.
Okay.
And the book is semi or somewhat autobiographical about a guy who was I think he was an artist or like a writer. I don't know if he was a sculptor.
Sure.
But yeah, and his tumultuous relationship with this woman. And so, yeah, I mean, it's would you call it a comedy? It's a tragic,
Well, yeah.
tragic drama, tragic comedy.
Right.
Comedic elements, dramatic elements, romantic elements.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely comedic moments.
Yeah.
But there's some kind of serious stuff too. Like even when they first meet, they have like there was a car accident.
It's weirdly serious.
It is.
Because it could have been, if you imagine, like, if this was Bounce, Ben Affleck, Gwyneth Paltrow,
Wow.
they would have some kind of thing where she hits her head, and it's like, oh, and they had to go to the hospital, but it becomes like a weird, or like a Sandra Bullock movie, like literally starts with her pulling a guy off a subway track. You know?
Right.
It's like, that is, I guess, a tense moment, but it's not a tense movie.
No, it's not.
But this movie does veer into these, like, it opens with him fantasizing during this period where he's apart from Olga, murdering her.
Yeah.
And it's brutal. Like
and
Verhoeven,
her new lover.
Yeah, brutal. Verhoeven clearly did, wanted you to be shocked by that. But he's not a murderer. And
No.
should we talk about the fact that there are a lot of things that are not exactly magically real, but aren't exactly reality? There are like imaginings or hallucinations, and it's mostly from the point of view of Eric, this character.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's supposed to say that he's an artist and he is seeing things from like a different kind of perspective, but there are many things that happen in this, and there's even sort of like sort of subjective staging of certain scenes where you're like, this isn't really happening. This is like an elevated reality that he is experiencing for one reason or another.
Right.
Is that the impression that you got? But like the Chinese restaurant scene.
Oh yeah. That was kind of weird. I mean, I don't know if we're supposed to get from that scene that Olga had been cheating on him for a while, or if that just kind of happened in the restaurant. And I think you've mentioned before that sometimes it seems like Eric's the only one who witnesses these things.
Yeah.
And that maybe is another time, but yet everybody at the table, who is all the other characters in the film, they start kind of humming the marriage march.
Yeah.
Which is like, why would you do that when her husband, who's Eric, is there?
Yeah.
And he's sitting at the table. If you didn't see him like groping her and then like them kissing, why would you have done that?
Right. But you get the idea that, and I think that Eric has always felt it's his fault. Like he spent his whole life being a rebel and, busting heads, jumping in on a bed. And he's never felt at home in this family, and now he really is on the outside because they all know, they seem to know something he doesn't, that Olga has this other lover. Yeah.
And I think, he like literally falls ill, like, which is kind of like, it's a little surreal again, I feel like, in some ways.
Yes, he pukes vociferously.
Yes.
If you can puke like that, ferociously. That's just one of a selection of bodily fluids.
Oh, yes.
I think they hit every fluid in the human body except for the stuff that's in your eye. Although there is a disembodied eye in the film.
There is.
There's no aqueous or vitreous humor in this.
No.
But there is every other kind of bodily fluid, including water, uterine water, that a dog drinks.
Yes. Yes.
That's something that happened, and I just said in this film.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of... It's kind of a gross film.
It's a gross film.
But, I think Verhoeven does some gross films.
And that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But it's not erotic unless the Dutch, something's in that weed, that they have a different idea about what erotic is, right? Like, he's not supposed to... first of all, he's a 25-year-old Rutger Hauer, so eroticism plugged in.
Right.
Comes in the box.
Right.
But he's so gross, and he wants to, like, lick your butt after you take a poop. And he's supposed to be extra, extra, right?
And he is.
This isn't like, you wouldn't go to, like, the Nether-Lands, and people are like, hottest movie. You see Basic Instinct? To keep your Basic Instinct. Hottest film I've ever seen.
Right?
Right?
Yeah,
I think I read that people did, like, he had a lot of trouble getting it made because, like, whatever passes for their MPAA is like, what are you doing?
Right?
I think the biggest objection was some of the religious stuff.
Oh, sure.
the fact that he says that he screws better than God, like that really pissed off his father in particular. Verhoeven's dad was like, well, I'm not coming to this.
Well, right.
Yeah. Although, good move, Dad.
Right.
Have you ever seen a single one of your son's films?
Yeah.
Because it gets better from there. Yeah, so I just don't know what it was trying to say. Like, it clearly, this is like 1972, and it's Europe, so they're catching the tail end of this Summer of Love kind of wave. I think if you made a movie like this in the 70s, it's getting more, Bob and Carol and Alice and whatever it is, like it's getting more sort of rote, the idea of like this sort of sexual liberation. It's starting to kind of bounce back, but maybe still on the continent, it was still going.
Right.
So he's like this cool dude, and he doesn't have a problem getting laid when he goes on a spree, when he's, after he breaks up with Olga.
Yeah.
They're just coming home with him. Everything's fine.
And he's like, okay, he's gross, but he's also like weirdly hot. And like he will do just the most inane things to get girls to come home with him.
Right.
Like, and we just, it's like this montage.
Yeah.
And we like, there's this one lady who's in like a phone booth, and he like makes a kissy face and like draws a heart on the phone booth, and then she's home with him.
Bed.
Yeah. It's just weird. And he like literally hops in the back seat with a girl,
Right. Yeah. So he tried to carjack me. I gotta blow this guy.
Right?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, it's a movie.
I know. It's a weird movie.
But they're trying to paint him as like, it seems like it's going pretty good. I think, are we supposed to admire him? Or, I mean, we do see that he's being self-destructive, but the movie doesn't paint it that way. The movie's like, this is pretty cool, right?
Right?
Look at this guy.
I know.
It's nuts.
He blinks and he gets laid. So
we got to peel his eyes open.
Yeah.
Ludovico technique, or everybody's going to get pregnant.
Exactly.
Something that I wanted to say, there's more juice in this fruit, but juicy fruit, but there's several specific references to condoms.
Yeah.
And Verhoeven is all about having sex. He's very open about that in his films.
Yes.
But I feel like there's a responsibility that is inherent in some of the stuff that he presents, because yes, this guy's going all around town and he's got a book, of 50 first dates, so to speak. But there's like condoms, and they talk about like, being safe and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
it's like, that's really progressive for a movie about a guy who's like, oh, eat the poop out of your butt. It's
right.
Like, what?
Well, even when him and Olga like first meet and they're having sex, like in the middle of having sex, she's like, don't make me pregnant.
Right.
And he
presumably... Great. Good stuff. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Okay. You can push that explicit tag so far, probably. Okay. So anyway, did you hear about the one with the two guys that went to Paris?
Right.
Yeah, they never went. And I never got that joke.
I never did either. I just got that it was probably a dad joke. It was a bad dad joke.
But dad jokes literally are dad jokes because they are too simple in their construction, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does
that fit in there? I don't know.
Is it that are the guys gay?
I don't think so.
Oh, there's two guys in a joke. I just figured they were gay.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
that
don't
says
know.
more about me.
They never went. What's the joke?
Maybe it's a translation thing. Maybe there's something about the words, the actual words that
are funny in
but they
Dutch.
mean like they maybe they went to something. It's like if between like the Spanish joke, like maybe the words in Dutch rhyme or mean something. We're way overthinking it. It doesn't matter. Although I think that this movie, if you are willing to submerge yourself in the sea of poop and boobs,
yes,
you will find that there is a lot to think about. I find myself thinking about like that character and him being presented as this sort of free spirit, but also it's a tale, I think, of maturation in that I kind of wish that we got like 10 more, not 10 more minutes, but maybe like 5 more minutes of him living a life after she dies.
Oh,
because it's really sprung on us.
I see what you're saying.
She comes back. There's about 12 minutes left in the movie. I've got cancer. And she's dead.
Brain cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, actually happened to the author. This is based on, like I said, the relationship that he had with this woman, but it wasn't, she didn't die, but he had a friend that had died suddenly of brain cancer. And so he's like, oh, that seems like maybe a good like end for this film, like to just get this character out of there. And so I wanted to see like what he learns, because it ends on this like melancholy note.
Yeah.
He makes this statue, which represents this kind of nurturing thing. It's literally a mother with a child, something that has no place in his life.
Right.
Because he's both a gigolo and he's rubbered up the entire time. But now that's something that he maybe now wants, but will never have. And so it's like this ironic thing. I get that, you know, and then there's like flashes of like, he's an artist and he cares about like art and mythology. And at one point he mentions Persephone and she's like, oh, what's that? And he explains, oh, it's like the myth of Persephone, who there's like a death and sort of a decay, you know, 6 months of winter or whatever sort of built into that. And when he puts some leaves on her and when he pulls the leaves away, there's maggots.
Yes.
Maggots on boobs.
Right.
That's the Paul Verhoeven way. So there's like, yeah, okay. But then also there's a scene where we have to check her poop and make sure, oh, it's beets. It's just beets.
I know, right?
There's literally a Portlandia sketch in this movie.
I know. But I feel like they had to throw like cancer in there a couple of times just to, you know, float that possibility and show that she's really genuinely terrified of getting cancer, and then she actually does.
Yeah, but apparently she didn't. So what was he trying to say? It's just like death comes for you whether you're worried or not. I guess if you're worried about brain cancer, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah,
use your cell phone less, but they didn't have cell phones. So.
No.
Do we want to talk about the rape?
I kind of think we have to.
There's a kind of preponderance of rape in some of these movies.
Yeah.
And can I coin a term that we should probably destroy this podcast so nobody hears?
Oh, sure.
I call it European rape.
Uh-oh.
No, it's just rape.
Uh-oh.
It's just rape.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I feel like 60s, 70s European filmmakers, you get these scenes where the woman's like, no, I don't want to know. And it's like, oh, I'm going to do it anyway. And then later on, it's like, why'd you do that? Rape you? Why did he rape you?
Right.
But the movie and those movies and those filmmakers just go, no, it's just, you know, this is something that happens. I guess she wasn't into it. You pointed this out when you watched Rosemary's Baby, where John Cassavetes is like,
yeah,
well, I know you were passed out, but I guess I'm rare. I got to get my claws filed down.
I know. And it's like
that was rape.
That was rape.
I mean, it wasn't you, but
right.
But yeah.
So even more so.
It's
in
just
that
this
case,
casual, yeah. But of course, you know, Polanski is
troubling.
It's already a problem.
Yeah, problematic.
Let's not read Paul Verhoeven's Wikipedia page. I just can't handle it right now.
Okay.
Any last thoughts about the film?
Well, despite that scene, I did like it. I think that it showed an interesting relationship between two passionate, impulsive people. And I mean, he even says at one point, like, it can't be over this quickly. He didn't believe it. And and you know, there's part of me that was like, yeah, it can't be over this quickly. Like, you know, he slaps her when he sees her with another guy, which is not great. But, and he kind of like leaves in a huff, and then she just like calls and says, I'm not coming home. And that's like it. Yeah.
There's a infantilization of Olga that I think is kind of weird. And again, I don't know if it's the 70s or if it's the European thing that we mentioned. I don't want to indict anybody, but it's important that this movie I mean, they literally mentioned that she's underage. Now, I don't know if they're just saying she's too young or if she's legally underage.
Right.
And I also don't know what the age of consent is. I think it's pretty low in Denmark. So how old is Olga?
Right.
She loves Dora the Explorer. Can't wait for that movie to come out.
But, I mean, she's old enough to drive, but then I don't know what that age is in the Netherlands either.
We're going to give them, I think, the benefit of the doubt, but she sucks her thumb. And so it's... And it's funny because, like, I don't think that she's kind of a, you know, flowered child, wild child like he is, and innocent. But it's not like she can't do anything by herself, right? It's not like she's, like, totally infantilized in her behavior.
But that's kind of an interesting thing. But it's really
important that the movie, it positions him as, I don't know what Verhoeven's idea of a relationship is. It just positions him as, like, the man and the sort of father / you know, boyfriend, husband or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know why she sucks her thumb so much.
I don't know why either, but she does live at home with her family, and like if she's not with him, she's with another man. So are they trying to present codependency with her, with that character? That she can't be independent and live on her own or take care of herself. Is that what Verhoeven's trying to say?
This is a secondary characterization. She is a secondary character to the main character.
Sure.
I won't say that Eric is like very detail drawn, but
right.
he is definitely, the whole point is he's a guy who doesn't care about this stuff. He's gonna complain about this horse's eye in his stew or whatever was going on there.
Right.
And he finds somebody that he is willing to commit to, but because he's a protagonist and we need conflict, she decides that she doesn't want to be with him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're not seeing it from her point of view.
Right.
Although I would challenge Verhoeven if he had an idea, or the guy or the jerk that wrote the book. Apparently the guy that wrote the book loved everything that Verhoeven did, except he's like, the guy's too abusive. Like, why is he always like throwing her around and throwing her down in the bed and like yelling at her about stuff and threatening to leave her? I don't like that part. And then somebody interviewed the guy's wife or girlfriend that it was based on, and she's like, he's totally like that. It's perfect. That's exactly what he's like. I should mention that Olga was played by the wife of Jan de Bont, the cinematographer for this film.
Okay.
And all three of these films, I believe.
Okay.
Who worked a lot with him, with Verhoeven in the Netherlands, and then of course came over here and became a cinematographer here, did Twister and Speed, and was a director in his own right.
Very cool.
Yeah. That's it.
That's kind of cool. I did not realize that connection.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Would you recommend it?
I would actually recommend it. Yeah. You're making a face at me. You don't think I should recommend it?
No, you can do whatever you want.
I guess I would tangentially recommend it, except
that doesn't make any sense.
I would recommend it, except fair warning for the rape scene, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe that's too harsh.
I don't think that Verhoeven's one of your favorite directors, if that's going to be a problem.
I do like Verhoeven, though.
Well, it's not about you. You're giving a recommendation. I would not recommend this.
Oh, really?
Nope, I don't. It's fine. It's fine. And it is, I think, adjusted for inflation, still the highest grossing Dutch film to date.
That's weird.
Definitely in the Netherlands. I'm not sure if that applies to outside of the Netherlands, but as far as like Dutch people going to Dutch movies, this is their Casablanca. I mean, this is like this is their Gone with the Wind.
Right. Which is kind of crazy.
Says a lot.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, our Gone with the Wind is about the Civil War and slavery, so I guess it says a lot about us too.
I guess it does.
Anyway, moving on to another movie about war. It's called Soldier of Orange.
Yes.
Little different, this one. Mm-hmm. Also based on a real life event, occurrence. The character he plays is slightly fictional, named Eric Lanshoff, but it's based on the real guy, Eric Hazelhoff, Rolf Zema. What'd you think of this film? I guess we'll just say that, because there's a lot of details to get into about this film.
Yeah.
It's kind of intermission.
It does. I thought it was a pretty well put together World War II film. I would... I'm trying to think of like other World War II films that I like. I mean, I like the miniseries Band of Brothers, but I mean, it's different from that. But I think it is similar in that it follows this group of like 5 or 6 guys who start the film and they're in college and they're getting hazed, and then it kind of follows them throughout the war and the various roles that they play. So I think it was kind of interesting.
It's very Tolkien.
It is, actually. It kind of feels like that.
Eric got to think about his whole life before he Soldiers of Oranges.
Right. I thought it was a really good World War II film. I like that it followed a group of 5 to 6 guys throughout the film and their various roles that they played during World War II. And I know it's based on a true story, but I think it's really interesting, like, that they all played kind of very different roles.
If you're writing this and it's based on your life, like, is the guy who's a traitor, like, he's the actual guy? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you change the names, I guess, but
right.
Like, is the guy? Do you make the guy more weaselly? Do you know what I mean? Like, and he always like farted and made us smell it, and because I would say, I mean, is the sort of quisling figure, but I'd say that the guy that betrays them is, you understand, it's sympathetic. I mean, you understand kind of why he's doing it.
Right.
He gets what he deserves. But...
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, that was something that, I mean, far and away, Rutger Hauer is the star of this film.
Absolutely.
And he's great in it. And it's great to finally see him play a good person.
Yes.
Like, he really is. The only thing that you could say about him is that he's kind of a reluctant hero, but he's still, absolutely the hero of this film.
Mm-hmm.
But then so are many of the people who are in it as well. Jeroen Crabbe plays Juice, his friend.
Yes.
Who's another guy who is like a character actor. Like, if you need a guy who's going to come in with his hair slicked back and he's wearing a brown twill 3-piece suit.
Right.
And this guy, he's got some money.
Right.
That's this guy. He was in a lot of movies in the 80s playing that guy.
Yes.
Most notably, he played Georgi Koskov, the KGB defector in The Living Daylights.
Okay.
One of my favorite Bond movies. Yeah, he's in it. Derek DeLint is in it as well, and he plays the character of Eric, the guy who goes full Nazi. Never go full Nazi.
Right.
And that guy actually read for the main role.
Really?
Verhoeven didn't want Rutger Hauer for the main role. I'm not sure why. I think he just thought that he wasn't right for it. And then he had Eric read, or Derek DeLint read, and it couldn't make it work, and so just was like, okay, guess we'll use him.
Right.
It's funny because he didn't want him for this. The movie we're going to talk about, Flesh and Blood, he didn't want for that movie either because he thought he couldn't get him. He thought he was like too big.
Right.
Because at this point, Rutger Hauer had been in Blade Runner and he'd been in Nighthawks and a couple of American films, and so he was like, no, I don't want Mr. Hollywood, but that's how it turned out. But yeah, it's God, who else is in this movie? There's a character played by Dolph DeVries, the character of Jack, who's the one guy who's like, just doesn't do anything.
Right.
They all go off. Like, one guy is killed for being a Jew. Right. One guy's tortured to death. Yes. Another guy, betrays everybody. And there's one guy who's just like, hey, I got some tea. He's just still there at the end of the war.
Yes.
The Jason Sudeikis looking guy.
Right.
I don't know. I think he looks like Jason Sudeikis for some reason. That's played by Dolph DeVries, who's a guy who has been in a couple other Verhoeven movies. He actually played the family lawyer in Black Book.
Okay, sure.
The lawyer for the family. And he's a composer as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I felt like this was kind of like Black Book Begins.
Yeah. And it also, interestingly enough, has a color in its name. Just...
You're not wrong.
Yeah. But I do think that this is a better film than Black Book. I think it's stronger. I think
there's no climactic candy eating scene.
No, there isn't. Like there is in Black Book.
And Turkish Delight.
I really, really wanted to like Black Book. I think that the story kind of meandered and took a lot of turns. There were a lot of twists. Yeah. And I don't know if all the twists made it unbelievable or if it was just kind of like, here's another twist and here's another twist, and like, her, I guess, identity or what have you.
Well, they're different in the way that you're right. Like they both, you can tell that this.
Yes.
And I could also tell that Turkish Delight was based on a novel in that things would happen in them kind of with a pacing that felt like if this was just, I kind of liked where we were going there. Like, wouldn't that, it didn't necessarily organically move from scene to scene. Sometimes it was just like, now this is going to happen because this is what happens in the book. So like when they go on their raid, in the second half of the movie and it fails and they come back and the queen is like, we'll never do that again. It's like, that's a weird thing for a queen to proclaim unless it's part of the book and also to explain why the Dutch didn't have a lot of intelligence
Secret
operations
service
going on, or overseas big operations, what do you call it? Mobilizations.
Sure.
During the war. It just felt like, oh, we're following the points on this outline of what happened in real life. Yeah. You get that in this movie.
Yeah.
Although I think this movie connects those events with charm in a better way than Black Book does. Whereas Black Book tries to turn every new scene or new historical thing into some kind of, like you said, twist.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, now the guy betrays us. And so we go to the prison and everybody gets mowed down. But then it's
Right.
like, well, wow, that's crazy. But then the next thing is like, oh, this guy, he's a traitor too. So now
Right? Like, how many traitors are in this film?
right, exactly. Everybody's a traitor, betraying each other. So yeah, this just felt more like a historical epic, basically.
Yeah.
Which it is.
I would agree with that.
Like it feels like that.
Right. And they do escape, and then they feel like they're safe, and then they kind of get pulled back in because, like you said, they get what's the word? Recruited to be part of the do some British secret intelligence, sort of thing.
I didn't look it up, so I don't know, but I would guess that none of this was shot in England.
I think you're probably right about
right?
that. Yeah.
Like when they meet the how droll, like British general,
right,
and the British aide de camp, Susan or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Those are Dutch actors, right?
Probably.
And they're just dubbed.
Probably.
Everybody's dubbed.
Really?
Well, I mean, yeah, even when Rutger Hauer, who I'm sure could speak English
he was
fluently
dubbed?
At that time, yeah.
Oh,
almost all the lines were
that.
ADR'd, yeah, because probably just, because it's an old movie and that happens. But,
Okay.
Yeah, so, but I had a feeling that, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm getting good at seeing, like, Dutch faces, or specifically the kinds of faces that Paul Verhoeven likes on women, because Olga looks kind of like Susan, looks kind of like Melisandre from Game of Thrones.
Right, the lady from Black Book.
And I'm sure that the Dutch genetic pool is bigger than that.
But I think you're right.
There's, a certain type that Verhoeven likes.
Fair skin, kind of fairish
slightly
hair.
apple cheeked.
Yes.
Yeah, that sort of look.
Delicate features.
Yeah. But, I think I like this. This might be one of my favorite films that we've seen. Like,
really?
Not counting like RoboCop,
of course,
or Total Recall, but of his Dutch stuff. I think I really enjoyed this film.
Okay.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it too. I would recommend it.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Yeah.
Favorite part?
Probably seeing them doing like the spy stuff, but then it goes like horribly wrong. I don't know why that's my favorite part. But just seeing what's his name, like betray them, Robbie.
The Bill Paxton guy.
Yeah, exactly. He like literally like shoots up a flare and then the Nazis come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like, geez, like I know you're working with the Nazis to, for self-preservation and to keep Esther out of the camps and stuff. But wow, you really have no problem betraying your friends. At least seems that way anyways.
Plus, why does he think that he's not gonna, there's like 50 guys with like MGs. Like, why does he think that he's not gonna, he's a blonde-headed guy in a tux on a beach too.
I know. What if somebody
cut
like
in half like everybody else?
Yeah, somebody accidentally shoots him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just...
Didn't think that through.
No, he was just...
But it's all for Esther, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Who, by the way, just, a pair of boobs on legs, right? No real character.
No real character.
Her character, Jewish, has boobs. That's it.
Sleeps with Rutger Hauer.
For some reason.
Right. Like, he's all... He even... This just to show how good of a person he is in this film. He's like, are you sure you want to do this?
He gets consent.
Yes.
To offset Flesh and Blood from 1985.
Right.
Paul Verhoeven's first American movie made through Orion Pictures.
Yes.
Ooh, boy. You see those little stars come out, make that little circle. You knew something was going to happen.
Are you saying Orion Pictures were good?
They were the New Line cinema of the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, they took chances on stuff. There's a lot of like really great Orion movies, a lot of really bad Orion movies.
Okay,
but
so
it was
it's
always going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Not quite, canon films, but
I don't think anybody's quite
getting
canon
around
films
there.
besides
Never
canon.
could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
1985, starring, of course, Rutger Hauer, also Brian James, and everybody talks about how Rutger Hauer played a character in Blade Runner who died in 2019, and then he dies in 2019.
Yes.
But did you know that he plays a character who has a sidekick played by Brian James in Blade Runner, and then in this movie, his sidekick is played by Brian James?
That's weird.
Mind explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's in it. Brian James, of course, Leon from Blade Runner. Yeah. Let me tell you about my mother. You know that guy. Jennifer Jason Leigh is in it, of course.
Yes.
Bruno Kirby's in it.
I know.
Bruno Kirby's in it,
and he doesn't try to change his accent at all. And
no, he's like, "Hey, I'm in the Middle Ages here
in Europe, Western Europe.
I'm in Europe, Western Europe." Yeah, I just coming down off of Godfather 2, I guess. And he's just gonna be in Flesh and Blood.
I know.
What Harry Met Sally was next year, wasn't it?
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
So he's
probably,
and he's already been in Spinal Tap. So yes, I can. Because Frank Sinatra says it's okay. So he's already a thing.
Yeah.
So now my question is, why would he take Seventh Fiddle in this
film?
European production by a guy who was he's hot, right? He's coming out of this Dutch filmmaker's coming out here.
Yes.
He's going to make these movies.
But he wasn't quite Paul Verhoeven
No,
yet.
this is his first one.
Yeah.
And it was a disaster.
Yeah.
It was a
disaster. So why did he say
disaster.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is the last movie that he, Verhoeven, and Rutger Hauer worked on together because they swore off working together after this.
Yeah.
Because they argued so bitterly throughout the film. And they argued so much that the crew basically told them they could argue, but they had to do it in English so everybody would understand what it was about.
So crazy.
Apparently there was blah, 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 going back and forth, but most
I
of
would
the
want to know what
crew
it was about
was,
too.
Or English,
Yeah.
or spoke English. It was also, there was an Italian crew, I think, as well, because they were filming there. Maybe a Spanish crew. There was many different crews working on this. It was a chaotic production. A lot of the scenes, and we'll talk about this in a second, this is just technical details, but a lot of the scenes are have a loose sort of improv feel and are very chaotic themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, as you're watching it, you're going, everybody's just all screaming at the top of their lungs. Doesn't this feel like it's all ad-libbed? It was.
Right.
And many of the actors, maybe Bruno Kirby, wanted to take advantage of that by sort of making sure that they were, in the center of the frame. And so I think they called it Flesh and Blood and Elbows on set because many of the people were trying to be like, whoa, I'm the craziest. Look at me.
That's got to be so distracting.
It must have been exhausting.
For the other actors.
It must have been exhausting.
And then also as Verhoeven, what do you focus on? I guess you try to focus on the main thing that's happening in front of you.
You focus on the movie that you wanted to make that is not this film.
Right.
And that centers on Jennifer Jason Leigh, who, by the way, a couple years ago, not bad. Sitting by a pool in California, making a movie about fast times or whatever.
Right.
And now you are freezing your ass off. Completely naked in an Italian castle. Your hands and feet are blue, and you're like, "What did I do?
I know, right?
What did I do?
Yeah.
Did Amy Heckerling curse me? What happened?
Yeah, I certainly hope not.
What happened was that Rebecca De Mornay was basically lined up to play her role in this film. Agnes, yeah. And she was pretty hot back then, right? Coming off of Risky Business. Mm-hmm. And she had one stipulation that Tom Cruise, her boyfriend and co-star from Risky Business, would be allowed to play Steven, the male love interest.
Yes.
And Verhoeven's like, no. This is pre-Top Gun. In a year, he would have said yes.
Yeah, right.
At this point, all we've got is Legend, though, right?
Which is kind of similar to this in a way. That's a little more fantasy than this is.
Yeah.
But...
I think he would have been fine as Steven, but I think the movie would have had to totally change because Steven is the third or fourth protagonist. He's really not that important, and I think it hurts the story. But anyway, he would have been fine, but we weren't going to get that guy. And so instead they're like, well, what do you got? And the studio's like, we got this Jennifer Jason Leigh. Great.
Right.
But once they got her in, they said, hey, we want a love story. The movie was originally going to be about the relationship between Martin, the character played by the mercenary, played by Rutger Hauer, and Hawkwood, his sort of mercenary captain who betrays him. And it was, Verhoeven would tell the story about, these two men who, you see this in some of his other work, who one betrays the other, and good and evil, sort of pushing and pulling. Mm-hmm. And instead it was, show me how to have sex. Voice of Bart Simpson.
I didn't realize that actress was the voice of Bart Simpson.
Yardley Smith.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting little tidbit there.
Well, I've done a lot of the work for you. In 50 words or less, what happens in this movie?
Well...
Rape!
Yeah, I know. We'll get to that. it starts out, there's this group of mercenaries, and they're basically helping this lord regain his...
This is not going to be 50 words.
Okay. They're helping this lord regain his...
Mercenaries.
Yeah. Hired.
Get screwed over.
Yes.
Go into business for themselves.
Okay.
Kidnap a princess.
Yes.
Piss off her betrothed and his father.
Yeah.
And have a Home Alone standoff.
Yes.
In the castle at the end. And their fellowship is torn apart by jealousy and greed.
And the plague.
And the bubonic plague.
Yes.
And Jerry Mathers as the bubonic plague. Yes.
Yeah.
Does the chaos that I've described come across on the screen? Does it seem like anybody knew what they were doing in this movie?
No. I mean, I think we're lucky that there actually is like a story.
Animals drinking bodily fluids. Put it on the list.
I know, right?
Ding.
Yeah. Well, like the doctor is like at one point like what's his name? Nighthawk, the captain of the mercenaries. Hawkwood, thank you. He gets the bubonic plague, and he's like, well, I'm just gonna bleed him because that's what you do. And then he dumps the blood, and he doesn't like bury it or anything, and then the dog just licks it up. And that's, I guess, how dogs...
They don't know about microorganisms.
I guess not.
But Steven does, because he went to school in Vienna or something like that. And so he's like a little Leonardo da Vinci coming back, making his little flywheels and gears and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's a scientist.
Yeah. They must have got a great deal on prop barrels for this.
Yeah, I think
There's
you're
about
right.
3 different scenes where a giant barrel that like a man could fit in is employed to some effect.
Yes, exactly.
There's also a scene with a tank.
Yeah, wooden tank with horses in it.
A medieval tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of impressive. And then it has this mechanical mechanism in it that creates like this ladder that goes up the walls of the castle.
Which is clearly just a Italian fire truck.
Yeah.
With some wood glued on it.
Right.
But that actor is still climbing up on that thing. And he's like 40 feet up on this castle.
I know.
Also, this is another point that I wanted to make. I think Rutger Hauer did a lot of his own stunts. Which,
yeah.
you're Turks fruit. You got to put some pants on, and you're gonna do a little like front somersault, into somebody's bed or something. Fine, right?
Right.
But then in Soldier of Orange, he's like jumping off of like dikes. He's jumping off of dams, walls.
Yes, I know what you're saying.
Make sure. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's Holland, and he's like doing front flips, and he's getting punched around. And in this movie, he's like getting thrown down wells, and he's jumping off of walls, and even the guy that plays Steven, I felt bad for because they put that collar on him, and he's getting dragged around. Yeah, and you can see that the collar is. I mean, he could slip his head out of it, but there's just a lot of he's fallen out of the trees, and a lot of people are like, I feel like nobody paid for any stunt people in this film. Do you know what I mean?
It doesn't look like it.
No.
And that's a little disconcerting, to say the least.
I have to say this for Rutger Hauer, in addition to being a great guy, it was professional because, except for the arguing, because he, I think, was also sold a different movie, which was something more heroic. He really, after playing all these terrorists and like villains in these American movies, he really wanted a movie that would show his heroic side, even if it was anti-heroic, trying to pay back this guy who screwed him over. Right. And then we get like, it's a rape party. Like we get this.
I know. And that's my biggest issue with this film.
Well, yeah. But like, and so I think that was a big source of the disagreement between him and Verhoeven, to the point where I think it really hurt the movie. I think that there is, and I think there is an idea in what the original idea was. I think there's something there. Mm-hmm. I also think there is something in put a sword in Eric the Turk Fruit's hand, and it's kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. He meets a woman who
that's true. Yeah,
loves him in her own way, but isn't fully committed to him, and he sort of dashes himself on the rocks of this girl. It's kind of the same story.
No, you're right. It is. It's very similar,
and they both kind of walk away at the end.
Yeah, but the weird thing about Agnes in this film is you're not entirely like sure if she's committed to Martin or Steven.
Yeah.
You know? And
well, the funny thing is, and I don't think Verhoeven could ever understand or try to communicate this reading, but that's what a victimized woman does.
right.
Verhoeven's trying to play it like she's an innocent, but she's got a dark streak in her. So when she's gang raped, anything that comes after that should, but she's like trying to take the power back in the scene.
She is.
But it's like, yeah, but that's what a woman who is terrified for her life will be like, oh, I like this, so you won't hurt or victimize me more.
Right. Right.
But that's
She's
not how they're
trying
playing
to play
it.
the upper
They're
hand.
playing it like she is being seduced into, I could live this crazy life where we just, jump around on banquet tables and
take over castles.
Yeah. Which is like, I'm not saying, first of all, very complicated from a sexual political perspective.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying, convince me, but the movie doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No.
And I think that hangs over the movie. And it's like this entire group of people like helps rape her, and it's very traumatizing. And I think I actually turned to you while we were watching it and was like, is this actually happening? Because
you bet your life it is.
Yeah, I know. It's problematic because you
SPETTERS,
right?
Should have watched SPETTERS.
We should have watched SPETTERS. You do want to like Rutger Hauer, and I think you do like Martin. You do like him in spite of this.
I think I just like Rutger Hauer.
Well, okay, I guess I just
it's amazing to think about the movie that could have been, not because it would have been great, but just how different it is. That bathtub is like the central part of the thing. Like there's that bathtub. There's the one, again, you have to think about what's actually going on, in the movie. But like, if you forget about that, like it's kind of a hot scene. Mm-hmm. And then it's reflected later when there's like a 3-way stab out in the tub.
Yeah.
That tub was originally going to be a scene where, and I don't know how they both get in there, but Martin and Hawkwood are like in this tub and they've both got like knives and they're having like a pleasant conversation like in this bath, but they're both getting ready to stab each other.
Oh, okay.
But that was totally changed when
different.
The whole thing got rewritten. So yeah.
Right. I kind of feel bad for Verhoeven, although I don't know why he had to put a rape scene in there, but yeah.
Well, it's a different time.
Yeah, I know. It
no, we don't accept that.
No, you're right. We don't.
You do.
No, I don't.
Would you recommend this? Watch Legend.
I would watch Legend.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's nuts, but it actually has a female character who goes through the same thing. She is like, everything's great, and then it's like, I don't know, what do you think about evil, baby? And she's like, evil's maybe evil's good. But then she's like, no,
it's not.
Evil's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it either.
It's too bad. It had the potential to be a good film.
It did.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just an okay film.
Yeah.
But that's okay, baby, because Rutger Hauer's been in so many good films. What's your favorite Rutger Hauer film?
I think, even though it's kind of cliched, I probably have to say Blade Runner. I just love him as Roy Batty. I think he does an excellent job in that film, and you just can't help but like him. And I don't know, maybe that's just kind of part of Rutger Hauer's charm, but I find Roy very likable.
You find Roy very likable?
Yeah, despite him, being a bad guy and
crushing a dude's head.
Yeah.
Being very disrespectful.
Okay, I guess I find him like you understand why he is the way he is.
Yes.
I guess that's a better way of putting it.
Do you know he was in Gallivant?
I think I did read that somewhere.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
If I had seen that would have been my favorite thing.
Yeah.
That he was in. It's not my favorite movie, but I think my favorite role of his is from Lady Hawk.
I like Lady Hawk too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's just perfect for that film.
He is.
Because he's got that thing where he's just got so much charisma and appeal, but he's often playing quote unquote bad guys. Mm-hmm. I don't know, there's just something about him that is like kind of bad boy, It's like, I don't know about this guy, but then he kind of gives you that like kind of kind of smile, and it's like, oh, you're gonna kill me, aren't you? But I think I'm gonna like it.
And I think what's interesting about that film is we when we first meet him, we think he's like the bad guy, but then we actually come to understand him, and
it works because of that.
Exactly.
Because he's, he really, in the end, he's, this huge sword fight in this church, and they're just throwing themselves around, and it's all based on, there's this holy light that's coming in. Like, he is clearly like the crusader, the good guy.
Yes.
Compared to Matthew Broderick's character, who is the just the totally venal thief who talks to God all the time, but is not, he's an unholy man, basically.
Right.
It's a totally different thing.
Yes.
We think that we're following Matthew Broderick, and then we see this weirdo who turns into a wolf.
Right.
But it turns out that he is like the shining armor guy. So, yeah. But it works. It works specifically because it's Rutger Hauer in the role.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Well, you should have picked that one.
I guess I should have.
So that's it. That wasn't so bad.
No.
That's like an Irish wake.
An Irish wake?
Yeah.
Because we celebrated, we came, we celebrated.
Careful. Don't pause too long.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, we celebrated this great guy who had an AIDS awareness organization.
I know.
Called the Starfish Association. He was a knight of the Nether-Lands. And
I know.
Damn you, unspecified illness.
I know, right?
Let's start let's start our own organization to fight unspecified illness.
I like this idea.
I think the Bluths did this one last year, but we'll pick up the torch from where they dropped it. But yeah, anyway, if you want to let us know how much you enjoyed Rutger Hauer, or even what your favorite Rutger Hauer film was, you can on our social media at Facebook and Twitter at justenoughtrope.com. Also, good things in the future, as has been announced previously on this very episode, but keep abreast of them by following us on those social media accounts. Also, check us out on Stitcher. All of our shows on the Just Enough Trope Network are available on Stitcher, on iTunes, Google Play, and all those good places. And if there's a outlet that you patronize and we're not on, let us know in those same places, or email the show at justenoughtrope.com, and we'll try to get it on there. I think we're on most of the major ones, but maybe we're missing one. So I'll make sure and find out. We're on Castbox FM.
That's your favorite, right?
I'm going to reach out to them. I love your product.
Right.
Let me sell it. You want me to write? I'll do some copy, or you can give me some.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Love that Castbox FM.
Yeah.
It's great stuff. Anyway, moving on, because they aren't paying me.
Not yet,
when
anyways.
You find us on those services, subscribe to the show. It's the best way to get it. It comes right to you. Also, leave us a review. We want to hear how you think we're doing. Mm-hmm. And give us a rating. Probably the most important part, because that lets those services know that we're doing a good job. We move up in the ranks, and everybody gets what they want. Mm-hmm. So to that end, leave us 5 turds.
Oh, no.
But it's just beets. It's not blood.
Okay.
It's beets.
It's beets.
Yes, I've crashed my car. It's beets. Yes, I know. It's beets. There are beets everywhere. Weird.
I know.
What a weirdo. I don't even know what to do with that.
There's not much you can do.
We got to watch L.
L?
Let's do
yeah.
Part 3 coming soon.
Of Verhoeven?
Yeah.
I think that sounds good.
Oh, wait, like 6 months or something. But anyway. Okay. So until then, give us 5 stars. And we'd appreciate that. The 5 Orion stars swirling around, making an O. Can't wait. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll be back in the future to talk about something else. And we're signing off until then. I'm your host, Caliban.
I'm your co-host, Mika Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.